Well, I'm just confused about one thing and one thing only. Why World Trade Center 7 went down in the first place. I'm very confused about that. I know what I heard. I heard explosions. The explanation I got was it was the fuel oil tank. I'm an old boiler guy. If it was a fuel oil tank, it would have been one side of the building. When I got to that lobby, the lobby was totally destroyed. It looked like King Kong had came through it and stepped on it. And it was so destroyed that I didn't know where I was. And it was so destroyed they had to take me out through a hole in the wall, a makeshift hole that I believe the fire department made to get me out.
You were in the building, got rocked by an explosion, yes. All that.
Yes.
And you know that they didn't mention Building 7 once in the commission report.
I told them that's where I was.
No,
that's
I know,
where I was.
But you know that they didn't mention the building at all.
I didn't give it too much thought. I thought they were just doing an into report or an investigation on as to what happened. They got my point of view, and I haven't heard any more from them.
For the past couple of minutes, it has been clear from this space back on Chambers in that area. So now they're walking back toward the World Trade Center. And as we keep letting you hear the personal stories, the survivor stories of exactly what happened inside the World Trade Center when that first plane went in, and of course the collapses since then, we're going to bring more of those to you now. Barry Jennings, you were on the 8th floor. You work for the City Housing Department. Explain to me the moment of impact.
Well, me and Mr. Hesh, the Corporation Counsel, were on the 23rd floor. I told him we got to get out of here. We started walking down the stairs. We made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor. And I turned to Hesh. I said, this is it. We're dead. We're not going to make it out of here. I took a fire extinguisher and I bust the window out. This is when this gentleman here heard my cries for help. This gentleman right here, and he kept saying, stand by, somebody's coming to get you. They couldn't get to us for an hour because they couldn't find us.
You thought that was it?
I thought we're dead. I thought that was it. I started praying to Allah. I said, that's it. We're gone. It's over.
What was it like for you? You were inside there as well.
It was pandemonium. I mean, it was something like out of a Bruce Willis Die Hard movie. He was there and he was crying, and there was another gentleman crying and for help. We couldn't get to him. We tried to get through we went through the buildings. We were lost. Both staircases, the backside was completely blown away. There was no way to access us. We couldn't get to him. And finally, one of the fire department teams found him. But we didn't think they were going to make it.
Well, certainly you got out. Many others didn't, of course. We don't have a number right now of fatalities or injuries, but I want to translate a story to you that another man told me. He was near the building. He was on the lobby level, near the shopping area, near the promenade. The elevator doors, he said to me, blew open. And when the doors opened, there was a man on fire inside that elevator. That is the kind of tragedy we are talking about here, and where the World Trade Center...
The firefighter that took us down kept saying, do not look down. And I kept saying why. I said, do not look down. And we were stepping over people. And you know you can feel when you're stepping over people.
It was pretty clear at one point, and then there's a whole bunch of smoke and glass. And I think we're just about the last ones in this building right now. I think you should leave. Everybody else is gone.
When they finally got to us, and they took us down to what they called the lobby, because I asked them, I said, when we got down there, I said, where are we? He said, this was the lobby. And I said, you got to be kidding me. It was total ruins. Total ruins. Now keep in mind, when I came in there, the lobby had nice escalators. It was a huge lobby. And for me to see what I saw, it was unbelievable. And the firefighter that took us down kept saying, do not look down. And I kept saying why. I said, do not look down. And we were stepping over people. And you know you can feel when you're stepping over people.
The amount of detail that Barry gave us in this interview was unreal. He says he was stepping over dead bodies in the lobby.
Trouble is, Barry Jennings himself disagrees with their interpretation of his words.
I didn't like the way, you know, I was portrayed. They portrayed me as seeing dead bodies. I never saw dead bodies.
Lobby had nice escalators.
But Dylan Avery has a recording of his interview, and he's unrepentant.
And the firefighter that took us down kept saying, do not look down. And I kept saying why. I said, do not look down. And we were stepping over people. And you know you can feel when you're stepping over people.
The amount of detail that Barry gave us in this interview was unreal. He says he was stepping over dead bodies in the lobby.
I didn't like the way, you know, I was portrayed. They portrayed me as seeing dead bodies. I never saw dead bodies. And the firefighter that took us down kept saying, do not look down. And we were stepping over people. And you know you can feel when you're stepping over people. feel when you're stepping over people. That's how.
I didn't take anything out of context.
I said it felt like I was stepping over them, but I never saw them. And, that's the way they portrayed me, and I didn't appreciate that, so I told them to pull my interview.
I didn't take anything out of context.
Continental Airlines Flight 3407 went down 5 miles from the airport, and the death toll is 50, including all 49 souls on board and 1 on the ground.
The first terrifying moments of the crash just outside of Buffalo, captured and posted on YouTube.
Can somebody get some help for my daughter? She's hysterical.
A frantic search for the victims on the ground.
Oh my gosh, is there anybody in there? There's nowhere my husband is. Oh my.
Firefighters arrived to find a home engulfed in flames with only the plane's tail sticking out. The plane suddenly banked sharply to the right, then nosedived into a neighborhood.
I was in our family room, and I heard a noise. Planes do go over our house, but this one just sounded really different, and I thought to myself, if that's a plane, it's going to hit something, and next thing I knew, the ceiling was on me.
Extremely hot fire, one of the biggest fires that I have encountered in my 17 years.
I could see the wing of the plane, and Jill was over to the side, crying, of course, hysterical.
State police and other emergency crew tell us there are parts of this wreckage that are still on fire. Police have not released the names of the victims, the people on the plane, but we do know that one of them was the widow of a 9/11 victim. Beverly Eckert is her name, and she was flying back here to go to a ceremony honoring a scholarship in her husband's name.
On board the aircraft, prominent victims' rights activist Beverly Eckert, who lost her husband in the 9/11 attacks in New York.
Stephen Wallace is a witness to the plane crash.
As Matt just mentioned, we have a breaking news story to tell you about. Apparently, a plane has just crashed into the World Trade Center.
Stephen Wallace is a witness to the plane crash. He joins us this morning. Stephen, you've spent 20 years as a paramedic, and you knew pretty quickly when you arrived on the scene that this was no longer a rescue situation.
Stephen, I mean, the fact that this plane came down and took only this one house in a very crowded neighborhood, that had to be surprising. I mean, this plane literally came in almost vertically.
Oh, that's true. When I heard the call and came in, I'm familiar with the area, I'm expecting 2, 3, 4 houses, if not a whole neighborhood gone. I was shocked when I came around the back and saw that basically the airplane came in at an angle, right down, causing a crater. It wiped out one house, it damaged the garage, and set some cars on fire. But we've all seen the pictures of the Hudson River where the plane kind of glided across the river. If that had happened here, there would have been 6, 7 houses and a few businesses, and the catastrophe would have been a lot worse.
The weather may be at issue. What was the weather like at that point in time, Stephen?
Well, I shot 200 or 300 pictures, and the ironic thing is you could look at one picture, and the very next second, it's heavy snow with water, freezing rain, and then all of a sudden it's clear, the wind's really heavy, 20, 25 miles per hour, and then nothing. So it was a very variable weather situation going on.
Ice can distort that airflow, and if there is that distortion, the airplane can stall at a much higher speed and without warning being given to the pilots.
But the Bombardier-8 is a modern plane equipped with de-icing technology that the NTSB says was turned on. Investigators recovered that information off the black boxes already undergoing analysis in Washington.
They already got the black boxes yesterday. They were rapidly brought to New York.
Tim Morris, you understand were the first at the scene. When you saw that tail sticking up and saw the Continental logo, had you also assumed it was a small plane up to that point? What was your reaction when you realized this was an airliner?
Being the first one on location, it was actually very tough to tell that it was in fact an airplane because of the massive amounts of fire, of course being fueled by the jet fuel itself. But I didn't in fact know it was, or nor could confirm that it was in fact a larger scale plane until I got about 180 degrees around the house. Then I did make contact with the wing of the plane, or the tail end of the plane, and then verified that it was a larger scale plane.
We're also closely following a developing story from Ohio tonight. A small plane registered to a Buffalo attorney has crashed near Cleveland, and there are no survivors. News 4's Michelle McClintock is live in the newsroom with the latest on this. Michelle.
Well, the names have not officially been released, but the plane is registered to a well-known Buffalo attorney who friends say was always seen flying. Investigators say the plane took off around 4 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon.
This was a small single-engine aircraft, a Cirrus SR-22, that had departed Cuyahoga Airport en route for Buffalo, New York, but crashed shortly after departure, crashing approximately 3 miles from the airport.
According to the FAA, that Cirrus SR-22 plane was registered to Michael Doran, who is an attorney in Buffalo with the law firm Doran and Murphy. News 4 legal analyst Terry Connors says that Michael Doran is the kind of attorney that everyone respects.
Mike was a hard, tireless worker, and he represented hard-working men and women.